You know, success in life often comes down to one question. What are the things that failures don't like to do? Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And I was inspired by an article by a gentleman named Jack Wilder that had that exact title. Success in life often comes down to one question. What are the things that failures don't like to do? I want to share this with you because it is so well written and makes a great points that we've made on this channel many times. But let's hear it from a different angle. Here's the article. It became very clear to me sitting out there today that every decision I've ever made in my entire life has been wrong. My life is the opposite of everything I want it to be. Every instinct I have in every aspect of life, be it something to wear, something to eat, it's all been wrong. Complained George Costanza in the classic Seinfeld episode, The Opposite. Jerry would then prompt him to do the opposite of his instinct, suggesting, if every instinct you have is wrong, then the opposite would have to be right. And this wisdom transforms George from his loveless, unemployed self to an executive with the New York Yankees that's dating a woman well outside his league. Even more impressive is that he manages to do all that in a span of 22 minutes. Now, Jerry's advice may be simple, but it's often these simple points that help clarify some of our toughest decisions in life. We know that success depends on our ability to make hard choices. But hard choices are hard for a reason. They go against our instincts. I would much rather hit snooze in the morning than wake up early and exercise. It's only by doing the opposite that I can be in better shape and start my day with more energy. The majority of us would much rather stay safe in our comfort zones than push ourselves into new challenges. It's only by doing the opposite that we grow and build new capabilities. Doing the opposite separates us from the masses. It helps us stand out from the crowd. And it keeps us doing those things that make up the hard choices in life. That's the key. No one wants to make these hard choices, at least not initially. The difference is that successful people push themselves to do it regardless. They push themselves to do the opposite. The common denominator of success. In 1940, at an annual convention for the National Association of Life Underwriters, Albert Gray delivered a speech titled, The Common Denominator of Success. While written for life insurance professionals, Gray's timeless message transcends industries and is apt for anyone seeking their own version of success. As Gray described the secret to success, and I quote, the common denominator of success, secret of success of every individual who has ever been successful, lies in the fact that he or she formed the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. Unquote. It's deceptively simple, yet it makes perfect sense if you think about it. If you're looking for a level of success achieved by a small minority of people, you can't follow the instincts that drive the majority. You need to do the opposite. As a rule of life, great things aren't easy to accomplish, which, if you actually think about it, is actually a pretty great thing. This barrier makes it unique. It's what makes it a great opportunity for those willing to pay the price. The important thing to realize is that we all face this same trade-off. Our natural inclinations push us to value the short term over the long term. As Gray put it, and I quote again, the things that failures don't like to do are the very things that you and I and other human beings, including successful people, naturally don't like to do. In other words, We've got to realize right from the start that success is something which is achieved by the minority of people and is therefore unnatural and not to be achieved by following our natural likes and dislikes, nor by being guided by our natural preferences and prejudices. Unquote. You see, the difference comes down to our willingness to embrace hard choices. It's based on our willingness to sacrifice our short-term comfort for long-term benefit. Mr. Gray once again, and I quote, "Successful people are influenced by the desire for pleasing results. Failures are influenced by the desire for pleasing methods and are included to be satisfied with such results as can be obtained by doing things that they like to do." Unquote. Now, being consistent with Warren Buffett's timeless advice to be, quote, "fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful," unquote, the key is to avoid following those instincts that drive the majority of people. Train yourself to see opportunities when others see only crises. Decades before today's habit craze, Mr. Gray would also emphasize the importance of building these behaviors into the routine of each day. He wisely recognized that our best opportunity to move from good intentions to actual behavior is by turning these actions into habits. In his words, quote, "Every single qualification for success is acquired through habit. People form habits, and habits form futures. If you do not deliberately form good habits, then unconsciously you will form bad habits." It's kind of like a garden. If you don't plant the right seeds, you don't plant any seeds, what happens to the garden? Weeds grow. You are the kind of person you are because you have formed the habit of being that kind of person. And the only way you can change it is through habit. Unquote. Gray would go on to discuss the specific habits that define success in the world of insurance agents. And I can speak to this because I was an insurance agent. Prospecting habits, calling habits, selling habits, and work habits. Now, the author says he's not an insurance agent, so whether this represents a comprehensive list, I can't tell you. It does. What I can tell you is that you can largely break down any discipline into a similar set of behaviors. Just ask yourself, what are the things that failures don't like to do? The answer, I think, falls into four main areas: setting priorities, driving high standards, communication, and personal responsibility. As to standards, unless you develop the habit of demonstrating excellence in every action, you've sent the message that your expectations are negotiable based on the situation. Temporary deficiencies quickly become permanent, and it always takes more work to recover high standards than to simply enforce them right from the start. If you take care of the other three areas, responsibility becomes a lot easier. But one key aspect is what happens when things don't go according to plan. If you've developed a habit of taking ownership, you can take a poor situation and make it actionable. And if it's your mistake, accepting responsibility is the best way to rebuild trust. Regardless of your industry, you can likely identify the common denominators of success by using a similar exercise. As an example, 4 areas of writing success could be research, perspective, editing, and the perseverance to keep showing up every day. 4 areas of engineering success, another example, could be technical discipline, communication, responsiveness to change, and the willingness to challenge past convention. What are the things that failures don't like to do? Then do that. Do the opposite. When Tim Ferriss was selling mass data the famous author Tim Ferriss was selling mass data storage to CEOs and CTOs after college, his days involved cold calling and cold emailing. For the first few months, he failed until he made two important realizations. First, all of his sales competitors made their calls between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. And second, all of the gatekeepers that kept him from the CEOs and CTOs worked those same hours. So he asked himself, what if I did the opposite of all the other sales guys? Just for 48 hours. He started making calls outside of these hours and was often able to get directly in touch with the decision makers. He continued pursuing the opposite, only asking questions instead of pitching, learning the technical details to sound more like an engineer, and experimenting with different email communications so that he would stand out. His experiments worked. In his last quarter, he outsold the entire LA office of their biggest competitor. Hey, same thing happened to me. I'm in the sales game, and one of my mentors said, you know what? The best time to make your appointments for the week is Sunday night between 6:30 and 8:30. Why? Because everybody's home. Everybody's in a relaxed state. So get up off your butt. We pay rent on the office 24/7. You have a key to the office. Go in and make your phone calls there. You won't be disturbed. There won't be anybody there distracting you. And you can focus on making your appointments. I followed that advice. And I'll tell you this. I can't count on more than one hand the number of Sunday nights where there was anybody else from the office making those appointments. Why? Because it was Sunday night. And I don't want to give up my Sunday night. All right? Well, by giving up that 2.5 hours every Sunday night, I always walked into the week, Monday morning, with a ton of appointments so that I could spend my time focusing on that and not on getting in front of somebody. Because if you're a salesperson, even if you're the best salesperson on the planet, if you're not talking to somebody, if you're not talking to a prospect, you're never going to make a sale. The things that make success so valuable are the same things that make it rare. If you want it in your life, you need to be willing to do something rare in return. In other words, you need to be willing to break away from the crowd and do the opposite. And I learned that when I was a sophomore, between my sophomore and junior year in high school. I had a burning desire that I was going to start on the varsity basketball team. I wasn't even on the team as a sophomore, but I determined I was going to start when I became a junior. Not only that, but they had all of the starters returning. So I was going to have to knock somebody out that was already starting. What did I do? I lived at the playground. I played ball during the summer. And in the Boston area, it gets hot. I mean, it can be 80, 90 degrees. I was out there running, shooting, working out, doing all of the things that I needed to do to make myself a cut above. And all the other kids in the playground would say, boy, look at Eli's dad. He's out there working his butt off, sweating his butt off. Look at him. But at the end, when the basketball season rolled around, they were announcing my name in the starting lineup. What are the things that failures don't like to do? Do the opposite. And always remember, don't ration your passion, fashion the passion. I'm Eli's dad.